Friendship don't mean shit. This is a viewpoint which I have held for pretty much my entire life. What a wonderful character I am. To put it in the bluntest way possible, I've never really had many friends. You can see why. Most friends I ever did have were only friends with me because I'm pretty rich. Not to brag or anything. Humble brag. You see, I work as a sea captain on a boat which I named the Golden Dodo after my personal idol, Colonel Dodo. More like false idol. That's a sin. One time I met Colonel Dodo down at a bar in Hepburn. He was very rude to me. Didn't even look me in the eyes. He gave secret instructions to the waiters and waitresses to throw tennis balls at me. Bastard. Despite Dodo clearly hating my guts and even sending hitmen after me in an attempt to get me to change the name of my boat, I still continue to call it the Golden Dodo. The boat isn't even golden. It's brown like dog shit. Now, I don't use my boat to go sailing or anything like that. No, instead, I actually hold a social club of sorts on the very top of the boat inside the captain's quarters. Intended for my social club to be the social club to end all social clubs, breakfast club. But sadly, this just wasn't the case at all, you see. This was mainly due to the fact that I charge an incredibly generous 60 grand entry fee for anyone who wanted membership. And then, of course, there was also the fact that in reality, my boat didn't even really belong to me. In reality, my boat belonged to a local mobster and Joseph Stalin lookalike Massimo Torini. In 2005, Massimo Torini was running a vehicle rental shop down the coast. I was a very stupid man back then, so I decided that this was my only chance of ever getting my own boat. Massimo tried offering me a helicopter and a Rolls Royce. I wasn't interested in that. I wanted a boat, and told Massimo all about my love for Colonel Dodo, my love for sitting on the dock of the bay and watching the tide fade away. That's when Massimo told me that he had just the thing. Oh, that Massimo Torini was a tight-fisted hand at the pebble, so he tried to con me with a rubber dinghy built for two. But I saw through his ruse and demanded that he either give me a boat worthy of sitting in or else I'd simply take my business elsewhere. You certainly are a hard bargainer, you know that. Torini asked, as he went into the very back room of the vehicle rental shop. Not even 2 seconds had gone by, as Torini came crashing through the walls of the shop, riding on a boat. These days, my boat is viewed as second-rate compared to other boats. However, back in 2005, this boat was considered the shit, if such terms could be used, and I think they can be. That's when I realized that I had a problem. I was very skint due to me owing money to a very lot of powerful Russian gangsters in the area. But Massimo Gold, bless him, he didn't let a single thing like that get in the way. So Massimo decided that he'd become a regular visit to my boat, and this became a big problem, as he would often aim his shotgun at the guests of my boat in an attempt to tax them for their sweet car insurance. The utter bastard. Not that there's, many attendants to the club anyways. In fact, the only people attending the social club are my old whaling buddies, Captain Birdseye and Captain Crunch. Captain Crunch was currently not held in very high regard after his foolish antics down in the court centre led to the peanut butter crunch recipe getting stolen by a bunch of cynical birds. This led to Quaker Oats ordering a hit on Captain Crunch, who was able to cover his tracks by bribing senior FBI agent Dave Norton, who in turn tricked Quaker Oats into thinking that Captain Crunch had died and a serial deal gone horribly wrong. Problems arose, however, when the Soggies learned that Crunch was making moves in Croydon, and so Crunch, once again needing to cover his tracks under the Crunchmobile, made his way down to the port. Unable to buy a boat out of fear of the attention it would bring, Captain Crunch opted instead to join my social club. Meanwhile, Captain Birdseye runs a private gun shop over in Kingston, Empire Bay, opted to join my social club after he poked his eye out on a tree branch. One chilly afternoon in Empire Bay, Birdseye was walking home from his favorite bar. He ended up walking face first into an old oak tree. The tree branch went straight through Birdseye's left eye, oddly. Birdseye didn't seem all that bothered about the loss of his eye, so he then proceeded to spend the next 2 hours telling the oak tree all about how his new Birdseye fish fingers are now 4.99 pounds. That's corporate generosity right there, that is. Well, at least that's when Captain Birdseye claimed that happened anyway, as according to my informants, Birdseye was seen last week doing a crossword puzzle, so he had both of his eyes intact. So I smell a bit of bird shit, if you don't mind me saying. Now, you see, the problem of being on a boat full of men is that you think about men. Know what I mean? Yuck. Now, my social club is all about friendship, and we do loads of really smelly activities, which are intended to help make my town a safer place. Our activities include sticking pictures of fish onto people's apartments, stealing trampolines from local supermarkets, and, of course, whaling. Don't tell a hab, will ya? Over time, myself, Captain Crunch, and Birdseye got to become really good friends. However, I still just wasn't satisfied enough with having only 2 people in my social club. So instead of paying Massimo back his money, I decided to buy a series of luxury items in order to help increase the appeal of my club to the masses. Bought an old rusty microphone, probably sounds like this one right now, Christmas lights, which are so fucking bright that they'll make you blind, a brand new door which is painted black. Yeah, I don't want any colors, I want it all painted black. I also got myself a rolling stone, which sits on top of the door, and the way it works is that if anyone tries to enter the social club unannounced, the rolling stone will roll on top of them, gathering no moss, effectively making them a squash pancake. In fact, I was so worried about people potentially robbing me that I even went as far as to hire my very own security guard in the form of Squidward tentacles. Sadly, this didn't last very long, as one day some bastard teenage HUDs decided to yell into the microphone, caused Squidward, who was listening on the other side, to have his eardrums literally burst out of his head. I was then forced under threat of death to pay for Squidward's medical bills, much to my chagrin. Once Massimo Torini caught wind about me buying expensive shit, he went ape, and demanded I pay him tribute. The night after Squidward's visit to the hospital, I received a call from Massimo. It was not a very happy Easter egg, no. In that moment, Massimo lost all care and control, and gave in full vent to his anger.
Such disrespect! I'm not asking for much from you, my boy. Just enough to wet my beak.
What, are you a fucking parrot? I joked. But Massimo did not find that funny whatsoever. Was he just stalling for time? Massimo demanded I pay him £60,000 by the end of the week, but I informed Massimo that I was skint at the moment. The fellow went silent for a brief moment until I heard Massimo say,
Well then, perhaps instead of that, maybe my son Salvatore could join your club just for a day. Is that cool with you?
Yes, of course, Massimo. What's he... I was really cut off as Massimo had already hung up the phone. He's quite the bastard, that Massimo Torini, you know? I don't judge him, though, buddy, as my mother used to make him trim his mustache from with a cat scale. Cat scale? Who the fuck does that? Hey, Super Mario, why don't you fuck off? So the following morning at dawn, myself and Captain Birdseye were working on preparing the social club for the arrival of Torini and his son Salvatore. Even though it was the middle of August, we decided to put up some extra Christmas decorations, because Massimo reminded me of Santa Claus with that mustache on his. Little did I know how much Massimo Torini hated that damn mustache. He hated it because in high school people used to run up to him and squeeze that damn mustache. They used to squeeze it like a Turkish garden hose. After getting everything set for Torini and his son's arrival, I went out to the bow of my boat and began smoking a cigarette when I spotted something on the horizon. It looked to be a small rowing boat. I pulled a pair of binoculars out from my ear and looked through them. Using the binoculars, I was able to see Salvatore Torini and some sailor rowing toward us.
Hey, sailor, ahoy!
Sal proclaimed while waving his hand about. Oh, fuck. Captain Crunch, turn the boat around, commanded at the top of my lungs. Captain Crunch tried his darn best to steer the boat into the other direction, but it was no use, as Salvatore and the sailor already managed to climb on board.
Hello there,
Sal proclaimed very happily. I was nearly sick, and I tried to hold it in. I ended up vomiting all over the bloody bow, and that's when Sal's sailor buddy introduced himself as being a cruise ship captain named Kevin Cruz. Well, his birth name was something like Spiffy Biffy, but Kevin changed his name once he started performing stand-up shows on cruise ships all along the South Canadian border. Well, it was more to the north to be exact, but whatever. Such exactive details aren't entirely necessary now, are they, friend? I then proceeded to give Salvatore a tour of the social club. Inside the club, we have a polar bear skin rug because fuck polar bears. One of those fools ate my laundromat dealer's foot clean off. We also had an old 1930s record player, 2 pieces of 8, and a pack of Lancaster gum, which was stuck to the disco ball, which we had hanging from the ceiling. There was also a rotten stench coming from the fridge, which we kept in the main area of the club, along with a toilet. Sometimes the shrimp goes right through, so we had a toilet installed in the living room for when times get heated. So what's the plan for tonight then, homeboy? Kevin inquired in a rather arrogant tone, which seemed very out of place for someone of his portfolio, but I decided to ignore it. Well, It's Tuesday night, and we usually go out whaling on Tuesdays. Captain Birdseye said while smoking from a pipe. Really? I was kind of hoping we watch a DVD or make a macaroni art or sing campfire songs or maybe even... Stop! I yelled at the very top of my lungs as my bloody heart just couldn't take all these cringy suggestions that Sal was making. Also, I should probably mention that Sal, though, he was only in his early to mid-20s. He kept wheezing and coughing. Probably too many pork rinds. We've all been there at least once in our lives, right, dear listener? I know I certainly have, but the question is, have you? Don't answer. Curious, I then decided to ask Sal what DVD he could plan on watching.
Well, my father got me this Friends DVD from his friend over at Atlantic Ways.
Sal explained this as he reached inside his hat and removed a very skinny-looking DVD case. Hand the DVD over to me. Oh, man, the DVD looked bloody terrible. The cover had a poorly drawn picture of some pineapples brutally murdering an apple in the middle of the park. What was this, the annoying orange? What on earth does this have to do with Friends? Friends like that, who needs frenemies? Meanwhile, the back of the DVD showcased a picture of Captain Crunch doing the can-can. The can-can is a dance move which involves you sticking your entire body inside a trash can, then sticking your feet through the bottom of the trash can. Once you've done that, you need to answer 7 riddles while dancing to a really hard 1960s jazz song, which may or may not have really been made in an underground studio apartment in summer 2004 by a fat, sweaty fish who used to go by the name of the real Steven Spielberg on Reddit a couple years back. Flamboyant Yeti, solve my riddle. I might set you free. This was, of course, until the real Steven Spielberg threatened to throw his shoes at the fish. Shoe for you. Anyway, I'm actually a really big fan of Friends. If you haven't seen the show before, then I'm sorry if this sounds rude, but you can honestly just fuck right off. Don't come back to read the story or listen to the story in this case until you've watched all 10 seasons and all 236 episodes. So make sure to watch a Madagascar trilogy, which stars David Schwimmer as Melman the giraffe and essentially viewing for anyone worthy to earn their salt and pepper. Maybe even their paprika. My old ex-girlfriend from the Rocky and Bullwinkle days. We decided to watch a DVD on the very bow of the ship and have Birdseye and Cap and Crunch prepare some seats she had recently stolen from the local cinema. Meanwhile, Kevin Cruz was in charge of setting up the DVD player with Salvatore. At that moment, another ship pulled up alongside us. Who should be driving the ship other than Captain Ahab himself? Ahab pulled out a megaphone and asked, "Have you seen him?" "Ooh," Sal asked, dumbfounded. He was busy putting up some more Christmas lights for some strange reason. "The monster, Moby Dick. Listen here and listen well, for here's a warning I may tell about a monster of the sea who goes by the name of Moby." Ahab warned. "Moby what?" Captain Birdseye joked as he began laughing hysterically like a jerk. "Keep laughing, arsehole. You just keep laughing. If you see a bastard of a whale, I'll be the one laughing. Oh, yes, I'll be laughing all the way to the bank." With that, Captain Ahab and his boat, the Pequod, disappeared from our sight. Following Ahab's departure, I demanded that Kevin Crunch hurry the fuck up with saying that damn DVD. "Patience, friend," Kevin proclaimed a little too happily for my taste. I got sick again as Kevin Cruz finally popped the DVD into the damn DVD player. We then proceeded to, sit ourselves down and helped ourselves with some old boxes of popcorn. Popcorn came from an old rundown warehouse on Mohawk Avenue, which had abandoned since, 1925, I believe. Sure, the popcorn's totally safe, though, right? When I say that, even though Sal and Birdseye started coughing out their lungs after taking just one bite of the little poppers. Whatever, I'm sure they'll be fine. After all, I did say it wasn't onion paste, didn't I, buddy? Yes, I certainly did. Or did. Didn't I? The DVD started, but nothing happened. That's fine by me. The DVD player was on, but there was no picture on the projector. I threw a shoe at the DVD player, which caused the bloody thing to start shooting out Genko Pure olive oil as the DVD started by showing the main theme song to Friends. It was more like a sick, twisted parody of the intro. "Someone ever told you that was gonna be so gay." Oh, that's offensive. I hope that means cigarette. One scene, Monica was shown removing her head and then bouncing it around like a beach ball. Joey was shown making out with a salmon who was, believe it or not, an acclaimed ITV actor during the 1970s. Chandler was shown dancing with a chandelier, which had a human face on it for some reason. Rachel was shown stuffing 3-leaf clovers into her hair, and finally Ross was shown staring at the screen with a very sinister expression. Also, Phoebe, not named Phoebe, but Phoebe's hair was 100% blonder than normal, which made me vomit very aggressively. How could it not? Something, meaning 1% more than it should be, would be enough to make anyone vomit out their lunch. Also, during the part where the group sit in front of the fountain, the water in the fountain was actually lava. I ended up pouring out and killing all the friends in the process, save for Joey, who was chatting up with an ostrich for some bizarre reason. American Idol. The episode then began with Ross sitting in an apartment chugging a beer. However, Ross did not look very happy. In fact, he looked very disheveled, smelly. This was certainly not the Ross that I knew and loved. I was so scared by Ross's blank expression, I tried to make a run for it. But I was held down by Sal, looked at me with a very smelly face as he asked,
"What's your hurdy-murdy?"
"Hey, come on, it can't be that bad," Captain Birdseye joked. But I could tell deep down he was just as afraid as I was. At that moment, Joey and Chandler came into the apartment, but Ross didn't even seem to notice them. Even if he did, he certainly made no effort to even acknowledge their presence. Chandler was the first to break the uncomfortable silence when he asked, "So, Ross, you still up for what we talked about yesterday?" "What are you talking about?" Ross asked in a very gruff, nasally voice which sounded nothing at all like Ross's normal, annoying voice. Chandler then went on to explain that 2 days prior, Ross had agreed to accompany him and Joey on a fishing trip. Ross didn't seem to recall ever agreeing to go along with that, so he asked a rather arrogant tone of voice, "Why, Ross Geller, would I agree to a thing like that?" "Well, you did, so—" Joey was cut off as Ross grabbed him by the neck and then pinned him to the wall.
"You and Chandler get the out of here, Joey!"
Ross yelled in the most angry voice I'd ever heard. Fearing for their lives, Joey and Chandler around the apartment screaming like madmen. It's also worth noting that Ross's eyebrows were thicker than thick and were so bloody big you could probably land a jumbo jet on them. The screen then transitioned to show Chandler and Joey running into Central Perk, where they ran into Rachel, Monica, and Phoebe. Now, something I found weird about the whole scene was that Phoebe was shown playing Shrek 2 on Xbox. Now, could that be anything other than blatant DreamWorks propaganda? What did DreamWorks sponsor this episode or something? Joey and Chandler then proceeded to each take turns telling their stories to the girls, who were very shocked at what the pair were telling them. "Well, that doesn't sound anything like Roth at all," Monica remarked as she clutched her cup of coffee tightly. "I have an idea," Rachel said as she then continued with, "Me and Monica will follow Roth around the city tomorrow and see if there's something or perhaps even someone that's bothering him. It's just not like Roth to lose his head like that." "Well, he's certainly right there," Joey remarked. It's also quickly worth noting that there was no laugh track, and there was also no other patrons in the cafe apart from the friends, of course. Anyway, Rachel and Monica were then shown sitting inside of Rachel's car, waiting in vain for Ross to finally leave his apartment. For the next scene, Rachel and Monica followed Ross around New York City, but they couldn't for the life of them find anything to be too out of the ordinary. Ross had a coffee at Central Perk and caught the subway to Brooklyn, where he attended a yoga class with Peter Clemenza. "What would Ross be doing hanging out with a Corleone capo?" Rachel asked. According to Monica, Ross had began spending a great time with Clemenza in his yoga class in order to help improve his personality. And who could blame him, as well as to possibly give him a gangster physique? Seeking more information, the pair followed Ross as he had a leisurely late-night supper at Patsy's, his favorite Italian restaurant. Reporting back to the others in the morning, Rachel explained that she and Monica had found nothing out of the ordinary about Ross. In fact, Monica went on to explain that the only thing worth mentioning was that Ross now had a sudden fascination with cheese. At one point, Ross paid a visit to the cheese farm in Staten Island. The smell of the cheese farm was apparently so bad it caused Rachel's face to turn green like Shrek, and for my eyes to water. I was a proud investor in smell-o-vision, you see. This meant that I could smell the smelly cheese right through the projector. I vomited so much vomit it filled the entire boat. We would have drowned, but Captain Crunch managed to push my sick into the cold crystal blue ocean below deck. "Terrifying, isn't it?" Captain Crunch asked rhetorically whilst pulling the smuggest voice you'd ever see. So that's why Rachel Monica's rather lackluster information regarding Ross. Joey opted to invite Ross around for a party at his apartment. The party was intended to celebrate Joey's purchase of a brand new toaster, which is shaped like Squidward's head. "Oh, Squiddy, what has Joey done to you?" "I'll have his head for this." To make a long short, the house party ended up going terribly. Ross was very rude and he insulted pretty much everyone who even dared to look at him funny. He even saw the local Packlin, who was there as Joey's guest of honor. Joey was horrified when Phoebe informed him about Ross pissing off the local Packlin. "Oh man, your ears look like fucking garden hoses," Ross mocked. The Packlin was very self-conscious about his floppy ears, and this was the real reason why he never married, despite fast approaching the age of 55. The local Packlin then announced that his deal with Joey was officially canceled. You see, the reason why Joey invited the Packlin over to the apartment was because the Packlin was looking for a star for a sitcom he planned on creating called Young at Fart. The show would be about an aspiring actor who's forced by his step-parents to join a cheesecake factory where he meets a group of high school dropouts. They all team up to become the best actors in town with help from special guest stars Solomon and Richard, and there would be lots of training montages. The main character was exactly like Joey. He wouldn't even need to act. Angered over Ross cost him his deal with the Packlin, his chance to make it big, Joey forcibly evicted Ross and the entire rest of the party from his apartment. After everyone left the apartment, Joey then decided that he would put matters into his own hands, and he started to follow Ross back to his own apartment. Upon reaching said apartment, Ross turned around to face Joey and asked, "You think I don't know you're following me?"
Dude, what's up with you? Joey asked before continuing with, you just don't seem to be like yourself at all lately, that's all. Oh, I'm fine, Joey. In fact, I'm better than fine. Since you're here, buddy, would you like to spend the night? Ross asked. Joey agreed happily. Before heading to bed, Ross gave Joey strict warnings to not go inside the fridge. And if Joey needed a snack, there was food around the place. After getting tucked into his sleeping bag, Joey's curiosity eventually became far too much for him to be able to handle, so he crept on all fours toward the kitchen. I mean, what could Ross possibly be hiding in the fridge that was so important? I mean, Squidward's head? Joey needed to find out what Ross was hiding, and fast! Perhaps it could be the answer to the sudden change in Ross's mood as of late. Once inside the kitchen, Joey made his way over to the fridge and opened it. He couldn't believe what he saw, and neither could I. Inside the fridge lay the unmistakable dead body of Ross Geller. He'd been dead for a while, it would seem, as his skin was green and rotten, and his eyes were bulging out like some kind of Luca Brasi. Well, if that's Ross, then who's... Joey's words were cut off as he heard someone knocking on the front door. Joey reluctantly answered the door and was delighted when he saw Phoebe was there to greet him. Phoebe was holding a red velvet cake, explained that she wanted to give it to Ross in order to make up for the bad week he'd been having. Joey clutched onto Phoebe tightly as he began sobbing heavily. Joey, what's the matter? What's the story? What's the word, hummingbird? Phoebe inquired curiously. I chuckled at Phoebe's little song, but this caused Joey to glare at the screen. It lasted only a brief moment, but it managed to make me feel incredibly uneasy. Phoebe, you gotta see this! Joey cried at the top of his lungs and then proceeded to show Phoebe the inside of the fridge. Phoebe nearly gasped when she saw the dead body of Ross. But if that's Ross, then who's... Phoebe was cut off as Joey said, Look, I don't know, but something's not quite right here. I mean, did Ross' father own a bike? The fuck does that have to do with anything? Phoebe asked. At that moment, a tall figure came out from the shadows behind Joey and Phoebe and asked in a cold, dark voice, Do you think this is a problem? Joey turned around only to get greeted with a sledgehammer to his face, killing him instantly. Phoebe reacted instantly by throwing the red velvet cake she was still holding at Ross's face. This only served to make him all the more angry. He ended up strangling Phoebe with his bare hands. Phoebe looked terrified as Ross's teeth became sharp like knives as he then choked. Is there a draft in here? Still got a sense of humor, Ross, I see. And with that, Ross ate Phoebe in one big bite as he said, Now to deal with those fools Monica, Rachel, and Chandler. Baffled by Joey and Phoebe's sudden disappearance, Rachel and Monica were dead set on heading straight to the NYPD. But Chandler had other ideas. He suggested asking Ross about it, and though initially reluctant, Rachel eventually agreed to go with the pair. Arriving at Ross's apartment, Ross appeared to have returned to normal as he was hosting a small barbecue inside of his apartment's living room for some bizarre reason. A barbecue, and you didn't even think to invite us, Monica joked. Ross didn't laugh. Again, her joke was pretty fucking terrible, and Monica should have known better before making such a terrible bloody joke. So Rachel then did a little walk around Ross's apartment before eventually deciding to grab a beer from the fridge. That's when she saw Ross's dead body just sitting in there. That's when Rachel felt a shotgun handgun touch the back of her head. Turning around, Rachel came face to face, or at least someone who looked exactly like Ross. Who the fuck are you? What the fuck have you done with Ross? Rachel asked. Ain't it obvious, Rachel? The Ross imposter asked rhetorically as he then continued with, The real Ross was killed by me a long time ago, so I could take his place and lure you all into a trap. Why would you do that? Rachel asked. As the Ross imposter responded, Because, Rachel, to be frank, I'm sick and tired of seeing you pesky fools run around New York like you're the best of friends. We don't need that shit. At that moment, Chandler and Monica came in, with Chandler eating a carrot cake, I think. Well, to be honest with you, it looked more like a human foot, or perhaps maybe some Burger King foot lettuce, but that's typical Burger King food. That's the last time I wanted my Burger King burger, I tell you. The Ross imposter, not wanting to have to relay the story to Chandler and Monica, instead decided to finally show its true form. The Ross imposter pulled his hair back, revealing it had a large zipper on his forehead. Removing the zipper, the skin suit of Ross fell to the ground. Bought it from a skin shop over in Bikini Bottom back in '97. Thought it would come in handy one of these days. The imposter said as he finally revealed himself to his friends. It was, drum roll, please. Nah, don't bother. Actually, that makes me feel self-conscious. The imposter was Rap Rat the entire time. Always remind me of Fred Durst. It all made sense now. Ross was said love of cheese, rude attitude towards his close friends, murderous tendencies, and make a barbecue without inviting anyone. All made sense. Rap Rat then began dancing like a madman as he proclaimed, I'm the talk of the town. I'm history of the making. I'm yours for the taking. Chandler attempted to run past which other Rap Rat cutting his ear off from the claw. Why you turn? Wait your turn! Rat Rat yelled at the very top of his lungs. Rat Rat then proceeded to grab hold of Rachel and went out the apartment window with her outside the window. Rat Rat then proceeded to climb his web towards the rooftops with Rachel in his claws. What is that sick psycho playing? Chandler asked while watching all the scene unfold from across the apartment window. Oh, Jay Chandler, I don't know. Tatruth. Monica joked as she began making some phone calls. For some reason, the laugh track finally decided to kick in after Monica told that joke. The laugh track was so loud, and I could tell I was the only one who could lie laughing. I'm surprised I could hear it, not just dogs. He sounded very wheezy. I had no doubt he probably had tuberculosis. Was that swell? Actually, no, that's really sad. I felt like that's come back forever sad. A helicopter that appeared above the apartment complex that should be drying up and other than Billy Bob Tanley and his BFF Otis. The helicopter was a proper military helicopter. It even had machine guns attached to it. Tanley then proceeded to let fire on the machine gun. He yelled, "Hey, Spud, give me some beer!" Using the helicopter, Billy Bob Tanley was able to fire at least 1,000 rounds into Rat Rat's body, but it was no use, and they had no effort. It only seemed to make Rat Rat all the more angry. Thinking quickly, Billy Bob Tanley turned to face Otis and said, "Is there any more beer in the back, Otis?" "Yeah, man," Otis said as he had a Billy keg of beer. Billy wiped a tear from his eyes. He threw the keg of beer directly at Rat Rat's face. Even as a young rat, even though down during his room, his swollen mouth, Rat Rat always had a fear of beer. And the mere impact of the beer touching his face would not send Rat Rat flying into the apartment complex. He dropped Rachel, but was suddenly rescued by a band of firemen who may or may not have been on the Molinari family's payroll. Only time will tell, however, but don't worry, because trust me, I keep an active file, wink. Rat Rat fell hours upon hours and screamed in pain as he finally made contact with the cold hard pavement. With help from aforementioned FBI agent Dave Norton, Rachel, Chandler, and Monica all got new identity personalities and went into the witness protection program. True was moved to North Yankton where they got jobs and stabbed comics, a little smoky bar called the Smoky Burrito. Frankly, the bar served no burritos, but they certainly served tennis balls. You know what I feel about them. The episode then ended with no crest with a small shoe showed a Rat Rat out of the corners. On the autopsy, Rat Rat's eyes began to flicker, and then they opened, and the screen turned to black, and male voice could be heard saying in the background in an overly serious tone, "He's Rat Rat, and he's the boss." Disgusted pulled out a shotgun and shot the projector, strung it instantly. Intent on doing the exact same thing DVD itself, but Captain Crunch and Birdseye had other ideas. "Oh, really? And what is that?" I inquired as Captain Birdseye started selling the DVD to President Jesus Quesadilla. "What a terrible suggestion," I remarked while slapping Birdseye across the face 6 times. All of a sudden, the boat began to rock around for his side. "Do the Mario." "Whoa, what's happening?" Captain Birdseye asked. Elsewhere, Salvatore had climbed his way into the carriage and cried, "Whale! Whale! Could it be the one they call Moby Dick?" I asked myself as Captain Birdseye and Captain Crunch raised their harpoons. "Time to earn some whale blubber," Captain Crunch proclaimed as he began throwing harpoons of thin air. Captain Crunch is obsessed with whale blubber, and he loves to rub it all over his mustache. It smells his mustache stays smooth and soft like a bar of butterfly soap. The whale was exactly what Captain Habit described. It was in a delayed scene. Of course, the whale was white as the moon, nice black as my back tooth. I named it Mo. This was so-called Moby Dick. Soon on cell with Captain Crunch. I magically had 6 harpoons in the whale's back, but they had no effect. So Moby Dick landed out of the ocean and flopped on top of the DVD player, constantly destroying it completely in the frenzied process. "There goes my chance to see Birdseye!" Captain Birdseye cried in despair as I sank to his knees. "What you talking about?" Captain Crash asked, at which Birdseye responded with, "Those pricks replaced me as their mascot with a talking bear named Jimmy Montgomery. He's a proper creepy polar bear that sits in people's fridges and tries to seduce them by posing like that broad from Titanic. It also doesn't help that the prick sounds like William Dafoe." Just as I thought the entire boat was about to go under, I ran out of the front of the boat and saw the Moby Dick was swimming toward the sunset with really smelly music playing in the background. So fucking smell, in fact, I ended up vomiting all over Salvatore. He didn't seem to mind, however, and looked rather stupid. Then again, it looked to be the same, especially when Salvatore Tortellini's involved. I'd say that whenever I know the bugger for less than a year, year, same thing in my world. So I could smell something burning. Now, at first, like any rational person, I assumed to be someone burning their ham, but I quickly realized the boat was on fire. Now, we had plenty of lifeboats on board, so we were able to escape the burning boat unscathed. Upon reaching dry land, Salvatore pulled a shotgun at me and said, "Oh, that's time's up, Captain Augusta." "Time's up." "What? I've been saying this fast." Oh, you bastard. "You're playing me this entire time, were you?" asked Salvatore, proclaimed. "Why, of course I was. And how could it be otherwise? My father knew you'd never get him the money back for his boat, so he had me to lure you into a trap." Someone continued with, "I used that friend's DVD in order to distract you. While you were watching the DVD, Kevin Cruz made a deal with the one they call Moby Dick. Basically, Kevin used like a scuba-duba outfit and ran into Moby Dick, who was playing Twister in the middle of the Eastern Basin. Kevin tricked Moby into thinking I helped to have one time heading down Moby's mother Dick back in the summer. And all summers, it happened too late to know how to pay for air. Moby Dick destroyed DVD while Sal's homie LB threw some Molotov cocktails in the back of my boat. I was busy vomiting my guts all over Salvatore. Okay, so what happens now? I was starting to feel something at the back of my head. I blacked out when I woke. I found myself in another boat just north of Bikini Bottom. It was some kind of summer camp, or at least that's what Captain Birdseye claimed it was. I'd rather be watching that Bootleg Friends episode again than be subject to this line of torture. Salvatore Tardini was currently an evil bastard who forced my friends to make macaroni art. He's also very patronizing. He got her up in my face when we were working. "Oh, that's very good, Betty," Salvatore claimed, which caused Birdseye to start breaking down and cry. His smelly sleeve was covered in noodle sauce. Pot noodle sauce, to be specific. Never think about trying to escape this. Sal looks at you, smelliest face I ever saw. It's a fucking bad red gaping hole appears in your chest. The way to make that hole disappear is that, I don't know, sit your ass back down and carry on with this damn macaroni art. Now, believe it or not, Captain Crunch actually managed to escape for a brief moment. We even managed to get on a rubber dinger bell for 2 weeks. Prosecuted Birdseye would come back from as soon as time was out. Barely even got 2 yards before Sal and Kevin Cruz came rolling after us. Those 2 bastards pulled us back onto the boat. I'd rather get eaten by a shark and maybe get my leg shoved by Moby Dick than have to spend another minute on a fucking boat with Salvatore Torini and Kevin Cruz. So it's like I said at the beginning, really, friendship don't mean shit. If I hadn't bothered finding my own social club and tried my best to make friends, none of this would have happened. I've never been so stupid. I should have been smarter. I deserve better. I know that deep down I'm capable of making smart decisions, and that's, well, dear viewer, listener, it's been fun, but I gotta go. It's time to sing campfire songs. Bastard Sal so cruelly makes you sing on your own, even if you have addiction to painkillers. So Sal doesn't believe medication, so they throw your meds in and see and laugh you as you die from a stomach ulcer. So stuff you hear about Salvatore Torini making things better for Bikini Bottom, they believe a word of it. May think his reputation is safe, but one day I'll get him and that bastard father back for this. I can promise you that, my duck ace. 6:32 p.m. Time to watch the Super Bowl.